I'm delighted to have this opportunity to thank the people of Flanders, and especially Ypres and members of the Last Post Association, for continuing to honor the sacrifice of our fallen.
What if one quiet decision inside the royal family is about to ignite a storm no palace wall can contain? What if a 90-year-old prince, standing at the edge of history, is preparing to move jewels worth more than money, more than status, more than headlines, into the hands of the woman many believe is the monarchy's real future? Because behind the smiles, the ceremonies, and the polished palace silence, a question is now rattling royal circles. When Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, closes this final chapter, who gets the treasures? And whispers keep circling one name again and again, Catherine. This is not some forgotten royal relative. This is Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, one of the oldest living pillars of the monarchy, a man who has watched kings rise, queens reign, scandals explode, and generations fade. Born into privilege, yes, but also born into responsibility. He is the eldest son of Prince George, Duke of Kent, and Princess Marina, grandson of King George V, cousin to Queen Elizabeth II, and a living bridge to a royal era that is nearly gone. He has carried the Duke of Kent title for more than 8 decades. Think about that. While governments changed, prime ministers fell, fashions died, and dynasties trembled, he remained quiet, present, watching. But 2025 changed everything. His beloved wife Catherine passed away. The woman beside him for decades was suddenly gone, and with grief came a harsher reality no crown can stop: time. The Duke, now 90, had already reduced public duties. His rare appearances became moments people studied closely. Every step, every glance, every gesture. Because when a man like this begins to slow down, people know something bigger may be approaching. Then came that rare appearance at the National Service of Remembrance, supported publicly, seen carefully, interpreted endlessly. Why? Because royal watchers know this family often speaks loudest when saying nothing at all. And standing there was not just an aging prince. It was a keeper of secrets, a guardian of private treasures, a man whose choices could still shake inheritance lines inside the House of Windsor. Because the real storm is not the title. The title of Duke of Kent will pass by succession. That is paperwork, tradition, expected. But the jewels, those are personal, private, emotional, political. And that is where the real tension begins. Let's talk about what he holds. This collection is not random sparkle locked in drawers. It is bloodline history forged in diamonds, pearls, sapphires, and survival. It traces back to Princess Marina, his glamorous mother, who entered the royal family carrying continental elegance and serious jewels. When she married in 1934, she received the famous Cambridge sapphire parure, tiara, necklace, brooches, bracelets, earrings, pieces dripping with dynastic memory. These were not accessories. These were statements. Once owned through lines connected to Princess Augusta of Cambridge, later in Queen Mary's hands, then gifted onward like sacred fire. That means every stone already carries ghosts. Queens wore them. Princesses posed in them. History flashed through them. Empires changed while they remained. Then Marina died in 1968, and Prince Edward inherited some of the most important pieces. Suddenly, one quiet prince became custodian of centuries. But then came heartbreak of another kind. Financial pressure forced sales. Parts of the original Cambridge sapphire collection were reportedly sold. The tiara, necklace, major pieces gone. Imagine palace traditionalists hearing that. Historic jewels leaving the branch that guarded them for generations. A painful necessity, perhaps, but still a loss, still a wound, still something many never forgot. Yet not everything disappeared. Some treasures remained. The Kent pearl festoon tiara, the pearl fringe tiara, diamond bandeau pieces, girandole earrings from Marina, survivors of changing fortunes, survivors of family transitions, survivors waiting for their next chapter. And now comes the question no one can ignore. Who receives what remains? His children are respected, loved, private, but not working royals. George, Earl of St. Andrews, Lady Helen Taylor, Lord Nicholas Windsor. None currently carry the visible burden of royal frontline duty. Some family circumstances even shifted succession positions through Catholic marriage and conversion. The point is simple. The next custodians of these jewels may inherit legally, but do they inherit symbolically? That is where insiders start whispering. Because jewels inside this family are never just about ownership. They are about who represents represents the crown? Who wears history in public? Who turns legacy into image? Who becomes tomorrow? And right now, one woman dominates that conversation, Catherine, Princess of Wales. Look at the timing. Look at the pattern. As the Duke of Kent fades from public life, Catherine rises. While one generation closes, another is being polished before the world. She has become one of the monarchy's strongest assets, carrying elegance, sympathy, continuity, and global fascination. Every appearance is studied, every jewel choice dissected, every smile monetized into headlines. And palace veterans know something dangerous: perception can outrank protocol. Camilla may wear the crown today, but Catherine is widely seen as tomorrow. That makes her more than popular. It makes her strategic. If precious private jewels are to stay visible, admired, and woven into the monarchy's future image, then who better than the woman expected one day to stand as queen? Now notice something even deeper. The Duke of Kent and Catherine were linked through the Scout Association, serving as co-presidents. That means this was not distant family coldness. There was working contact, shared service, mutual visibility. In royal terms, that matters. Relationships often decide what official documents never reveal. So ask yourself this: if an elderly duke watching the monarchy transform around him wanted his family jewels to live rather than gather dust, where would he send them? To private heirs who may treasure them quietly? Or to the future queen who would place them under palace lights, before cameras, before history, before the world? That is where the silence becomes suspicious, because no formal declaration has thundered out. No palace note has confirmed anything. But sometimes the loudest royal message is the one never announced. And if these jewels are being positioned for Catherine, then the monarchy's next image war may already be underway. And this is where the story becomes far bigger than gemstones, tiaras, or glittering headlines. Because inside the royal family, jewels are language. They speak when people cannot. They signal favor, continuity, trust, succession, power. A brooch can become a message. A necklace can become a warning. A tiara can become an announcement no one dares say aloud. So when people ask whether Catherine could receive pieces from the Duke of Kent's private collection, they are not asking about fashion. They are asking whether an aging royal insider may be quietly endorsing the next era of the monarchy. Many people confuse royal jewels as one giant vault of shared sparkle. That is not how this world works. There are the crown jewels held for the nation, linked to coronations and state power. Those pass with the monarch and cannot simply be sold or handed around on personal whim. Then there are institutional collections tied to the monarchy itself. And then there are private jewels, personally owned treasures, inherited through bloodlines, gifted through marriages, moved quietly through wills and family arrangements. The Duke of Kent's collection falls into that deeply personal category, which means one crucial truth changes everything, he decides. That single fact has fueled endless whispers. Because if he decides, then nothing requires those jewels to drift automatically toward the obvious legal heir. Nothing forces them toward the loudest title in the room. Nothing guarantees they remain tucked away in private drawing rooms. They can be gifted, loaned, bequeathed, positioned, directed with intention. And when a man reaches 90, has buried his wife, reduced duties, and witnessed every phase of modern monarchy, people naturally wonder whether decisions have already been made behind closed doors. Now look at Queen Camilla's position. She already has what she needs for the present reign. She has access, status, precedence, and the historic pieces required for state occasions. Her role is established. Her image is defined. Her crown moment has happened. She represents today's throne. That matters, but Catherine represents tomorrow's throne. And in royal mathematics, tomorrow can become more valuable than today very quickly. Catherine has spent years doing something rare, making old monarchy feel new again. Every time she steps out wearing a historic piece, it does not feel dusty. It feels revived. She has taken inherited jewels and made younger generations care about them again. That is power, not official power, cultural power, symbolic power, the kind that keeps institutions alive when politics grows cold. She wore the Cambridge lover's knot tiara and instantly reactivated memories of Princess Diana while still making the look entirely her own. She has turned jewelry into continuity theater, and the palace knows it. Then there is the emotional timing no one can ignore. Catherine emerged from her cancer treatment with renewed public sympathy and stronger stature than ever. She is no longer seen merely as the prince's wife. She is seen as a central pillar of the monarchy's future. That kind of transformation changes inheritance conversations. Families do this everywhere, royal or not. When one relative becomes the natural standard bearer, sentimental assets begin gravitating toward them. Now multiply that instinct inside a dynasty obsessed with image and legacy. And there is another layer people rarely discuss, Princess Charlotte. Because royal women do not inherit only jewels, they inherit stories. If Catherine receives historic Kent pieces, she would not simply wear them. She could one day pass them forward. Imagine Charlotte inheriting jewels linked to Princess Marina, Queen Mary, Cambridge sapphires, and 2 centuries of royal women. Suddenly, a private decision made by an elderly duke becomes a bridge to the next generation. That is how dynasties think. Long, quiet, strategic. Notice the symbolism hidden in the name Cambridge itself. The Cambridge sapphires already carry a title once held by William and Catherine. Coincidence? Perhaps. But royalty thrives on coincidence that looks like destiny. If remnants of that line were ever worn by Catherine, headlines would write themselves. Heritage returning to the Princess of Wales through the path of Cambridge. History loves circles and palaces know how to use them. Meanwhile, the Duke of Kent himself represents a vanishing Britain. He is linked back to King George V, wartime generations, imperial shadows, old codes of duty, and a style of royalty that did not perform itself loudly. Reserved, disciplined, stoic. If his jewels go private and disappear, one of the last visible threads to that age may fade from public life. But if they go to Catherine, they remain active, seen at banquets, state visits, diplomatic dinners, future coronation-era moments. They continue speaking, they continue working, they continue serving the crown in a different form. This is why some believe the real answer has always been obvious, not backward, forward, not sentiment alone, strategy with sentiment. Not who can own them, but who can use them to strengthen the monarchy's future image. And in that calculation, Catherine becomes the strongest candidate without anyone needing to say it publicly. Still, let's be clear, no dramatic palace bulletin has confirmed some secret handover. No official scroll has declared Catherine the chosen recipient. That uncertainty is exactly why this story refuses to die. Royal ambiguity is fertile ground for speculation, because the family has always understood mystery creates control. If people are debating possibilities, they are distracted from certainties. If everyone watches the jewels, fewer watch the politics. But sometimes speculation survives because it feels emotionally true. A quiet old duke, a lifetime of service, a treasured private collection reduced but still meaningful, a monarchy searching for stable future faces, a Princess of Wales becoming more central by the month. Those pieces fit together too neatly for people to ignore, and so the tension lingers. Somewhere behind gates, portraits, polished silver, and carefully managed silence, choices may already exist on paper. Names may already be written. Boxes may already be tagged. Instructions may already be sealed. If that is the case, the public will only learn when the moment arrives, and by then, the story will already be over. Until then, one question keeps glittering in the dark. When the last great keeper of Kent's jewels is gone, will those stones vanish into private shadows, or appear around Catherine's neck as the monarchy quietly reveals where its future truly lies?